Welcome back to another video. My name is Aaron and I help people expand their consciousness. Now on this video, I'll be sharing with you how to master your emotions and understanding how to go about this to really direct it to where you want to be, to how you prefer to feel, and it's going to involve a certain level of awareness. Now, I think this video can really transform the way that you go about your day and understanding how you respond to what's happening and how to really let go of ideologies that don't serve, how to let go of the story that you tell yourself, and how that story is shaping the kind of experience that you have in your life. So when it comes to emotions, realize that our emotions are really a guidance system that is showing us where we lie in proportion to what we're focused on. So, and I'm going to use this analogy. I've used this like sheet many times before, and it's from a book called Power versus Force by Dr. David Hawkins. And what it is it's a chart that shows the different levels of emotion in proportion to levels of consciousness. So what you'll notice on this chart is that at the bottom you have emotions such as fear, such as guilt, such as shame, and that those emotions have a certain, what we could call, frequency that has to do with the state of where it's at, of the state of how it feels inside of your body. Now, as you move up these different states, you'll eventually get up to more of an acceptance or neutrality. And when you get to this level, this state of your emotional state of being, what that allows you to do is to observe and become aware of where you were and being able to neutralize that story. So that's where meditation comes in. That's where that can be a very powerful way for letting go of that story that I was talking about. And then what we'll find is as we move up to more of acceptance, eventually we get into love, and then we get into higher states of peace, joy, and at the very top you get enlightenment. So the idea is that our emotional states of being exist within this realm, or in this different categories of way of explaining it. And the powerful part of understanding this is that any of the emotions on the bottom, or any of them at all, when we become attached to a certain story, when we become attached to a certain mental picture over and over again, and we are repetitively thinking about that. So it's about understanding that our brain works in a way to where we get mental pictures that are symbols for evoking a certain type of emotion. When we learn to become aware of those mental pictures and bring them out of the autopilot mind, what we then begin to do is to take our power back. So the idea is that as we become aware of those perspectives, so if we have a memory of a maybe feeling shameful for thinking a certain way and people shamed us for that perspective, and anytime we think of maybe those people or we think of that perspective we have, we evoke the emotion within it. When we see that that reference experience is there, when we see that that's where that feeling is coming from, we can then learn to neutralize it through being aware of it, through bringing it out of the autopilot and into the awareness. Then we can simply decide to let it go. This becomes a very powerful understanding with this whole process. We must make the decision to become more aware of what we're thinking. We must become aware of what our emotions are telling us. And as we begin to do that, we then allow ourselves to align ourselves to who we prefer to be. And then we can start to get the reflection that we want in our life. So ask yourself the question, what are my emotions telling me? What reference experiences do my emotions stem from? And when you start to ask these questions, you're going to start to look for the answers. Your brain will start to look for the answers. And what you then allow yourself to do is to reframe those memories, to bring it up to a neutrality sense where you observe it rather than react to it. The reacting to it keeps us in the lower paradigm. But one of the easiest ways of transcending all of it is becoming aware of it, allowing yourself to feel it, and then deciding to simply let it go. As you start to have this awareness for your emotions, that's when everything begins to change, because you begin begin to bring the subconscious into the conscious, and then you get to decide how you prefer to be. For me, I went through a lot of emotional trauma growing up just because of my living situation and certain variables that were in it, and I had to really learn how to neutralize it and also to reframe the meaning all of it, to not remain attached to the identity of it. And as I began to reframe it and to see it from a positive point of view, because it led me ultimately to this kind of information, that allowed me to change that story. And as I changed that story, I realized that I could generate my state from within. I could choose and to decide how I prefer to feel, and that's how I began to master my emotions. So you can do the same thing by becoming aware of what your emotions are telling you. Understand that your mental pictures that you think of consistently are what then causes you to feel those emotions. As you become aware of what that guidance system is telling you, you can then decide to neutralize the story, to simply decide to let it go, and from that point of view, you can simply be who you prefer to be. So, with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Feel free to like this video if you liked it, subscribe if you haven't already, and as always, I will see you guys on the next vid. Peace, much love, and namaste. Alright, bye.